This is Gibbon Beach, just to the west of Port Hacking Point. Hello, Jim 12's here again. Today is Tuesday, the 7th of June 2022. And today, here I am at Jimbidin. Sorry, I can't remember. Something like Jimbidin Beach, which is just west of Port Hacking Point. So the camera is basically pointing towards Port Hacking Point. And today I'm actually going to read you a piece of my writing which I did a couple of days ago, and then I'm probably going to reflect on why I wrote what I wrote. So here goes. It's entitled I Have a Dream, and I may have to hold on to the camera because the wind is getting up. Hey, yes it is. So I have a dream. I believe that for each of us to flourish, and for society at large to know peace and harmony, allowing for each individual to rise to their maximum potential, we all need to revel in and excel at personal responsibility. I reject the extreme privileged agenda of globalism at any cost. And by that I mean the globalist agenda. Yes, many of their aspirations are laudable, but their means deplorable and their motivation mercenary. Their premise completely denies the spiritual and rejects the existence and supremacy of God. I believe that all of us have been charged with the responsibility of looking after the planet and stewarding her resources with wisdom. I believe the sovereignty of every nation, and that the people in every nation are accountable for their part of creation. Fair-minded people who generally care for others, genuinely care for others, are well able to cooperate with others in the leadership and management of nations for the mutual benefit of all. We don't need multinational corporations running the world, acting as unelected one world government. A world with real sovereignty for every nation would, in my view, be the most beneficial, harmonious of conditions for the spread of the gospel and for the building up of the body of Christ. I would like to build into this kind of world, knowing that my passion and my commitment and my responsibility could be united with men and women of like mind and heart, while making an immovable stand for Jesus. So that's my dream. I never dreamt of just writing down a dream like that. It was the conclusion to an article I've just written entitled Gain of Function Responsibility, and I commend that to you. It can be found on Daily Declaration, part of the Canberra Declaration. So where am I coming from? I think there are two things here really. It feels as if the globalists, the people working from Davos, Switzerland, think that they have the answer. And sure, they have an answer, but is their answer what we need as a world? And I believe that it's a very dangerous precedent to put the future of all of us and the planet in the hands of a few who are unelected. You've no idea where that could go, and it presupposes that the world has been run badly up to now, and all the different nations haven't been able to do a good job. It presupposes that there's actually chaos, when I would argue there isn't. There are pockets of complete chaos and anarchy, sure, but by and large, let's take for example Europe since World War II. The nations of Europe have lived harmoniously for over 50 years. I don't think there's much wrong with that, and I'm not talking about the power of the EU either. I'm simply talking about the power of the economic community of Europe, which since World War II has done a fantastic job, I would say. So no, I don't believe in globalism in any shape or form. In fact, in the last few years I've become more and more anti-globalist. I always had a suspicion that the movies coming out of Hollywood were basically paving a platform for uniformity, almost with the flagship of McDonald's on every planet, sorry, every nation. So yes, I've always been subconsciously suspicious of globalism, and now more so than ever. I don't see there's anything amiss with having pride in your nation. I'm British. I was born in Britain. I was born in England, and I'll always be British, even though I'm resident and now a citizen of Australia. That doesn't ever take away from the fact that I'm British, and I'll be very proud of the Union Jack for as long as I live. I'm also very proud of Australia, and I wish Australia as a nation would have some courage of its founders, instead of feeling it has to sell out to multinationals overseas. I love the term sovereignty, the real sovereignty of every nation. That may evoke pictures of war between nations, but I don't think it does. If you look at the world as a whole, most nations, most of the time, get on with their neighbours. Yes, they have a border post. Yes, people show their passports as they go between the nations, but that's fine. That's fine. There's something respectful, I think, about the sovereignty of a nation and respecting its own culture, rather than trying to artificially imagine that we can all become one, which we can't, because every culture is actually DNA different. And perhaps one of the motivations for my dream is that I don't believe that the globalist agenda is actually conducive to the gospel. I think it's actually, as we've seen in the last 2 years, I think the gospel is likely to become a casualty of globalization rather than a beneficiary. So I believe the nation state is the way to go. That's my stand, and I think that's the best place to make a stand for Jesus. So my last thought on this little video, the essay I wrote, Gain of Function Responsibility. I really believe that the majority of people of the earth, maybe with the exception of rural Asia and most of Africa, the majority have had their responsibility taken from their shoulders and given to the big multinational companies. I think it's a great shame, a real great shame, and there's nothing more like the fulfillment of being responsible for yourself and for your family and for your local community and for your nation. I really urge you, don't abdicate your responsibility for a global organisation that's never been elected. So that's my little video on I Have a Dream. Have a good day. Enjoy.